Hello. So today we're going to go over a few things. One, modeling out a lamp, something a little bit more complicated than just the typical uh, table, which is kind of squarish. This one has a lot of little intricate sort of adjustments to its silhouette. So we're going to want to try and get that. And it's actually quite easy. Doing something like this is actually pretty easy and it doesn't take that much time. So what we want to get is we want to be able to get this and turn it into something like this, where we can actually see all those little levels of detail. And this only takes a few minutes, so it's pretty easy. And there's several ways of doing it. Anytime you're modeling something that is going to have these little intricacies, you want to think about essentially all these little grooves, because anytime there is a change in the silhouette, that basically means there's an edge that is changing it. So an example of this would be when we look at that image and we actually look at every time there is a change in the silhouette, I have to add an edge so I can shrink that in or expand that out so that I can actually match that change in the silhouette. And I didn't put all of them in because then it just starts to look kind of crazy and indecipherable and a lot more complicated than what it is. But you can see, oh, this part tucks in. So I have to add these edges in and shrink it down to match that silhouette. And as we go along and start adding those details, that's where the edges go. This is a simple cylinder that is basically turned into this shape because at its essence, in a primitive shape, this is a cylinder with just varying changes in diameter as we go through it. Okay. So the first thing I need to do, I'll just start from scratch. We'll save this one up. And I'm going to go and just create a brand new document. And obviously there's nothing in there. I have my grid turned off for a reason. Here's my grid. I just turned it on up here. And this is good because this is the center, but I'm going to want to hide it when I'm actually doing this because it can kind of get in the way when I start to do stuff. Now I have an image that I want to use, and I'm going to bring it in on what's called an image plane. And the image plane allows me to put an image in the camera, locked to the camera face, so that I can use it if it's a good silhouette to actually start to model something. So putting it in the perspective view may not be the greatest thing because I'm floating around in 3D space. And the model I'm doing is very consistent. It doesn't change. The back looks like the front and so forth. So I need an isometric view. So I'm going to hold down the space bar, left mouse click on where it says Maya, and I'm going to go to the front view. And this is what's known as an isometric view. I can move up and down, I can left to right, and I can zoom in and out, but I actually can't rotate. It's locked to looking at this angle. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to bring in what's called an image plane. So it's an image that I've already saved and I put it into a folder in my project. And right up here, so I'm looking through my front view, and there's an option for image plane. It's this little guy right here. And you see when I actually look down here, this always tells me what it is I'm pointing to. If I like, oh, which one is it? I put it over it. It highlights, and at the bottom left you'll notice it says image plane, so that's the one we want. Click on that, and I placed my image in the source images folder. I want to use it as a source. It's a nice high-res texture so I can see the details, and we'll go over generating that in a second. But basically I created an alpha channel for it. And so I'm going to select that image, and I created an alpha so it doesn't have a white background. It's literally just cut out. And I open that up. And now we have it, and it has an alpha channel, so I'm not distracted by any background image or anything like that. And I'll make another video just showing you how to quickly do that. For right now, let's just do this. And I'm going to turn my grid off now because I really don't need it. I'm not going to be using the grid. What you'll notice from this image is kind of funny. I have the green line. I'm going to ignore that, but because I was outlining it for the other image that you saw showing some of the contour shapes. And the reason I actually put this here is because this actually is a flat surface. We're looking at it from an angle that's showing perspective. It's slightly looking down so we can see, but when we model it, we don't want to model this with an angle. We want it to be flat, and that's why I kind of outlined a few of these so that we can see it. Okay. So, looking at this, this is basically a cylinder, so I want to create a cylinder. Hold down spacebar, create polygon cylinder. Okay. And there it is right there. Now, since my image isn't perfectly centered, I'm just going to center this guy to it. And I'm just going to move it so it's pretty much centered. And I will shrink it down just a little bit. Now there's kind of two rules. You can actually create it so it's the width of the largest section, or you could do it so that it's the smallest section of width, and then when you add edges, pull it out. Whatever's easiest for you. There's not really a perfect way, but where you just go, oh no, this is the way I'm going to do it. So but I do want to do, I can always add more if this needs to go up. We put the light bulb in later and stuff. But what I do want to do is just extend it out so it's at the very least touching where the bottom of this is. Okay. And whatever axis I'm scaling on highlights yellow. I want to work from the center. This is very important because if you start scaling from the side, you're only scaling on this axis, not depth. And what will happen is you can easily model out this and it looks great until you go into 3D perspective, you rotate around and it's flat and it's messed up. And then it's sort of a pain in the butt to fix that. So what we're doing, whenever you see me scaling an edge I brought in, the center is highlighted, and I can't stress that enough because that's the one thing that will jack you up and jacks everybody up. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to go to your perspective view and make sure that it's perfectly round. And what I meant was if you're scaling only from the red, then it does this, and we need to see that's not perfectly round. So we want to make sure this is the guy that's always highlighted. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding, I'm going to do a few things. One, I'm going to press 4 so I can see through this. Okay. And I can do this a few different ways. So I can actually start to just add some divisions in. I like doing it this way because it makes it a little bit easier. I will go in right now with my insert edge loop tool, and I know that this is where the base is, so I'm just going to put a line right there so that eventually this edge will be out to here. And I can make adjustments afterwards, so I'm just trying to get, even though this is flat, I'm just going to keep it a little bit higher, because that's actually going to have some depth to it. And for right now, I'm just going to start to put in where some of these, the out area, the in area, the out area, all those need edges. Okay. Now, it ducks into here. It's going to come back out. And it's going to duck in. Now we see all these, and we're still not realizing what we're doing, so why don't we start working with that? I'm going to go to my selection tool, and I want to make sure that automatic camera-based selection is turned off. What does that mean? That means that now if I grab a selection of something, like let's say I go in jinkies, to vertex mode, and I grab these vertices, and I scale them. When I selected them now, I've selected all of them. And I'm just going to pull them out so that they line up here. Now I only do the vertices for the bottom because it's a little easier because there's a center and everything. From now on I'm going to go to edge. And I'm just going to grab that edge from the center, scale it out. And I'm using my middle mouse button when I drag out so I can get that out there. See? Okay. Next line. Use scale out to about there. Sorry about that. And as I go through, I have to start to realize what these are, right? I know this one is going to represent that top piece. Whoops, forgot one. And I'm literally just outlining this into the shape that it's supposed to be. And I'm double clicking to grab the whole loop. Okay. And I have to see where that one's going to be. I think I was a little bit off, but that's all right. And these actually will be pushed down. Now what will happen is as you start to do this, you're going to start to see, since this isn't perfectly centered, it's like, oh, it's a little bit off, so I'm going to pay more attention to the right side than I am the left. And I want to get that side lined up better. So as I start to go in, so there's a change right there. Scale tool, scale that down. There's a change right there. Scale tool, middle mouse drag, scale that down. Press G, that's the last tool that I was using. Scale. And what you'll start to notice is that this is starting to take form. Okay. Once again, I have a little bit of creative license because remember this is at a slope. So some of these are going to be a little bit different, but I can always go to my perspective view. Press F to zoom in and start to see how that shape is forming. And then go in back into 4. And as I start to manipulate these, you start to see that, oh, this is actually starting to work. If I decide, wow, you know what, this needs to be further down, now I'm just going to grab all these and I'm just going to push them down. And you can start to see how I'm getting the shape that I want. And as I go through, I'm literally just starting to follow those edges, and I can move them up and down. And I'm just basically, it's rinse and repeat. I'm just doing what I was doing before. And now I got up here, now I have to start adding those edges back in, right about there. Scale it in. Press G, right about there. Scale it out. G, because that's the last tool. Now, some of these I am just going to, I'll tweak out a little bit later. And once again, that doesn't have to be perfect. Right now, I'm just trying to get all of those general shapes, but you can see that this is working out really well. Always scaling from the center. Looking at this side. I'll round this out. I'm not too worried about that. You'll kind of do a little bit of an overlap on that. And so on. And while I'm still doing this, I'm just going to do a save scene. And I'm going to call this one, go back to my scenes folder. Lamp demo 1. And then we'll continue it on the next video.